Kanal YouTube Independent Channel The Simple Explainer, pada 27 Juli 2025 merangkum 18 peristiwa besar, yang saat ini tengah berlangsung di dunia dan secara aktif diliput oleh media arus utama internasional. Salah satu yang disorot adalah perjuangan kemerdekaan Papua Barat, yang disebut sebagai bagian dari dinamika geopolitik dan kemanusiaan global yang patut menjadi perhatian luas. Video berdurasi sekitar 6 menit ini diberi judul, "Setiap peristiwa besar yang terjadi hari ini, yang tidak akan Anda ketahui jika tidak menonton berita." Sebuah ironi untuk menggambarkan bahwa meski diliput media besar, banyak peristiwa dunia ini tetap belum cukup dipahami publik secara luas. Dunia sedang bergolak, dan Anda mungkin tidak menyadari skala dan dampaknya, kecuali jika Anda mengikuti media dengan cermat. Dari perang saudara di Sudan hingga krisis laut global dan perjuangan kemerdekaan Papua Barat, 18 peristiwa ini menunjukkan betapa kompleks dan gentingnya kondisi dunia saat ini. Papua Barat disebut dalam urutan ke-16, tepatnya pada menit ke-5. Dalam cuplikan tersebut, channel menyoroti bahwa perjuangan rakyat Papua Barat untuk menentukan nasib sendiri telah menjadi isu yang terus bergulir, dan kini mulai mendapatkan ruang pemberitaan di berbagai media arus utama dunia. Disebutkan bahwa konflik berkepanjangan antara aparat keamanan dan kelompok bersenjata di wilayah Papua telah menimbulkan dampak kemanusiaan serius, terutama pengungsian warga sipil, terbatasnya akses pendidikan dan kesehatan, serta meningkatnya ketegangan politik di tingkat internasional. Papua Barat adalah salah satu wilayah yang masih memperjuangkan hak menentukan nasib sendiri di abad ke-21. Meskipun secara teknis diliput oleh media global, kompleksitas politik dan minimnya tekanan internasional menjadikan konflik ini berjalan dalam diam, ujar narator dalam video. Video ini tidak hanya menyampaikan daftar peristiwa, tetapi juga menyentil bagaimana publik dunia terkadang kehilangan konteks atas peristiwa-peristiwa besar karena distraksi informasi. Meskipun media arus utama telah meliput 18 peristiwa ini, channel mengajak audiens untuk lebih sadar, lebih peduli, dan lebih aktif mencari kebenaran di balik berita. Dalam rangkuman itu, perjuangan Papua Barat menemukan tempatnya, sebagai bagian dari cerita besar dunia yang belum selesai, namun kini mulai didengar. Nonton videonya berikut ini.
Sudan Civil War. Since April 2023, Sudan has been torn apart by a brutal civil war between the Sudanese armed forces and the paramilitary rapid support forces. The conflict has devastated cities like Khartoum and El Geneina, killed tens of thousands, and displaced millions. Ethnic cleansing, mass rapes, and famine-level conditions persist in Darfur, yet this war receives almost no sustained global attention despite its staggering human cost. Rwanda-Congo War. In eastern Congo, the Rwandan-backed M23 rebel group has reignited a deadly conflict, clashing with Congolese forces in a war over territory and mineral wealth. Civilians are caught in the middle, facing massacres, rape, and displacement, while international media largely avoids reporting on what some call Africa's forgotten war. Slowing down of the AMOC, the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, AMOC, a vital system of ocean currents that regulates global weather, is weakening much faster than scientists expected. If it collapses, it could trigger devastating climate shifts. Europe could plunge into freezing winters, African and Asian monsoons could fail, and sea levels could rise dramatically along coastlines. Despite this threat, media coverage remains minimal. Haiti's situation. Haiti is on the verge of total state collapse. Armed gangs control most of the capital, Port-au-Prince, and have overrun police stations, courts, and hospitals. Kidnappings, assassinations, and hunger dominate daily life. A transitional council struggles to restore order, but most of the world, including the media, has turned its back on Haiti's suffering. Europe's bug problem. Invasive insect species like the Asian hornet, stink bugs, and pine processionary moths are wreaking havoc across Europe. These pests are destroying crops, forests, and native ecosystems, posing threats to food security and biodiversity. Yet, the problem is often treated as a niche environmental concern rather than a growing ecological emergency. Myanmar Civil War. Since the 2021 military coup, Myanmar has spiraled into full-scale civil war. Ethnic armies and pro-democracy militias have seized territories, and the junta responds with airstrikes, executions, and scorched earth campaigns. Civilians are bombed, starved, and silenced, but the international spotlight has largely faded. Balkan Spring. Across the Balkans, in Bosnia, Serbia, and Kosovo, a youth-led protest movement is rising against corruption, economic stagnation, and nationalist elites. Often dismissed as local unrest, these movements are gaining momentum and calling for democratic renewal, even as governments respond with repression and surveillance. Miombo woodlands. The Miombo woodlands, stretching across Angola, Zambia, Mozambique, and other southern African nations, are being rapidly cleared for mining, charcoal production, and agriculture. This biome supports millions of people and vast biodiversity, but its destruction is accelerating unnoticed, contributing to regional climate change and ecological collapse. Uyghurs in China. Over 1 million Uyghur Muslims remain imprisoned in China's Xinjiang province. Detainees face forced labor, religious persecution, sterilization, and indoctrination. Although international awareness peaked in previous years, global interest has waned, allowing China to continue these abuses with little international pressure or accountability. Georgia's anti-government protests. For over 230 days, Georgians have protested laws seen as threatening democracy and EU membership. The government, seen as drifting toward Russia, has cracked down on dissent, passed a foreign agents law, and harassed civil society. Despite mass demonstrations, the crisis receives little outside attention. Gaza Freedom Flotilla, a humanitarian ship named Handala, is currently sailing toward Gaza in defiance of Israel's naval blockade. Its mission: deliver aid and break the siege. But attempts to sabotage the vessel, including a sulfuric acid incident, have gone unreported, as has the broader mission's symbolic challenge to global apathy toward Palestinian suffering. Ukrainian youth protests. Amid ongoing war with Russia, Ukrainian youth are protesting internal corruption, especially attacks on anti-corruption institutions. These protests challenge not just Moscow's aggression, but also Kyiv's domestic shortcomings, demanding reforms and accountability in a time of crisis. Yet this civil resistance receives almost no attention. Minnesota court protects environmental journalism. The Minnesota Supreme Court recently ruled that Unicorn Riot, an independent media outlet, qualifies for press protections while covering pipeline protests. This is a key victory for environmental journalism and press freedom, but it's buried beneath louder national debates. Tampa's Zine and Art Resistance, a small but powerful movement of artists and zinisters in Tampa, is celebrating alternative media through dark art and indie publishing. Their DIY spirit challenges mainstream culture and creates spaces for radical expression, yet such cultural undercurrents are often overlooked as irrelevant. Palm Springs Quiet Transformation. City councils in Palm Springs, California, are approving massive new warehouses and recreational infrastructure like pickleball courts. While mundane on the surface, these changes reflect wider trends in gentrification, economic shifts, and suburban development that reshape American life beyond the headlines. West Papua's independence struggle. In the Indonesian-occupied region of West Papua, indigenous Papuans are waging a decades-long struggle for independence. Armed clashes between the West Papua Liberation Army and Indonesian security forces continue, with reports of extrajudicial killings, village burnings, and internet blackouts. Despite being one of the world's longest-running independence movements, it receives almost zero international media attention. Global water crisis. Worsening in the global south, across sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and parts of Latin America, communities are facing extreme water scarcity. Rivers are drying up, groundwater is being overexploited, and privatization is putting clean water out of reach for the poor. In countries like India, Nigeria, and Peru, conflicts over water access are intensifying, yet global coverage remains sporadic and reactive. Amazon rainforest crossing. A tipping point. The Amazon rainforest, often called the lungs of the earth, is rapidly approaching an irreversible tipping point. Vast areas of forest are being cleared for cattle, soy, and mining, while climate change weakens its natural regeneration. Scientists warn that the Amazon could soon become a savanna, unleashing massive carbon emissions. Despite this, deforestation continues at alarming rates with little international urgency.